Good morning, Sonder family. It is really, really, really good to be back with you all. I'm Jennifer Ogilvy. I'm coming to you from the Dallas, Texas area. I've been on vacation for a couple of weeks. I had shared with you our family had a family trip to Florida a couple of weeks ago, and we are back. I'm really glad to be with you all. I was telling Katie it is very hard to kind of get up and going today. We are very, very heartbroken in our state of Texas. Things are not good for our beautiful hill country. And so I thought maybe I shouldn't be in front of the camera this morning because I just have this real huge sense of gloom and sadness. And then I thought, no, I'm with my people. I'm going to be okay. So, yeah, Denise, and I was telling Katie I did what I shouldn't do, and that was, plug in, ruminate, watch the news, watch the all the stuff in social media, but I'm trying to make sense of it. Um, one of our lost little girls is actually a student where my daughter-in-law and grandchildren go to school. And so we do have like that just that community connection. And so their family's really sad because there's a lot of connection in their they live in Dallas, but they have this small community. So um anyhow, you do what you need to do. And I told Katie, I'm going to share with y'all, I had to stop yesterday and think about my circle of control and what can I do? And I'll talk a little bit about that when we do how do I want to feel this week. Because yeah. Anyway, thanks. And then, our family cabin is in the hill country. Our husband went yesterday and we're fine. We are actually not in a floodplain, even though we are water adjacent with a creek. But we have seepage and that kind of stuff that'll go to the down part. And so anyhow, yeah, it's just sad. So, if you are a person of faith, definitely prayers for our first responders and the grief that's happening. And if you just want to put some really good juju into the universe. So anyway, thank you. I really am so grateful that I had this morning so that I could be with my Sonder family. There are those community guidelines. We always share those. This is a safe place, which is again why I'm so grateful to be here. And I can just come and tell you how rough how rough I'm feeling. And know that, you're there. Um, but we do want you to take a look at those. Every time we're together, we want to gather with great intentions. And if you are watching this on YouTube, we are really on the YouTube channel. We're really glad that you're taking a little time for yourself, just like those who are gathered here now, to dig into your journal, to set yourself up for a good week, and to maybe feel, the energy through just the conversations and talking. Thank y'all so much for your beautiful words this morning. Let's see, we've got a couple of announcements. Of course, we want to remind you about that 24/7 personalized life coach that you can sign up for the life coaching app. And I've got a deal for you at the end of this. So I'll be sharing that. And then I want to remind you to share your planner so that we can benefit from one another's knowledge. And just kind of like, here's what I do, and that works. And so feel free to participate in the chat and let us know how you use some of these pages. You can do your own thing. You can be independent and embrace this journal the way you need to for your week. So, of course, there's my shout out to our new theme of independence. And I love, I have said that this year it just feels like all of these themes are setting us up for the next one, right? And so this is going to be a fun week to start kicking off that deeper dive into independence. I know that there's been a couple of socials, from our journal prompts. But we're going to be looking at independence with our mind map this month. There will be 4 weeks of looking at that. This is week number 1. We're going to do that mind map. Is there anybody here for the very first time? If you are, will you drop a me in the chat so we can just give you a welcome? This is a cameras off, mics off event, but we do share in the chat. We do want to welcome anybody who's new. And if you are new, the mind map is your bonus for showing up and working on your journal with the Sonder community. And what we do is we do a deeper dig into the theme of the month, and it's a bonus prompt. You won't find it in your journal. You get to use a space in your journal to do those deeper digs. So we'll start off. Well, hey Terry, we're glad you're here. We'll start off with that mind map. We'll look at our rosebud thorn, and then we'll do our weekly setup together where I have lots of examples to share with you. You probably already have, an idea of what you want to do. So while I'm talking during that setup, you're welcome to kind of start filling in blanks, how you do things. And of course, again, share if you do some repurposing. You're invited to use this journal just as it is. But you're also invited, again, to be independent and change up the pieces of it that you need to change up to make it work for you. So I'm going to invite you now to turn to a notes page, or perhaps you'll use the definition page or the quote page. Maybe each one of the weekly scratch pads is where your mind map responses land. Sticky notes, maybe you have a little sidekick journal. Whatever you do for your mind map. I went to the last page. That was a tip given by my co-facilitator Bailey, y'all have been with Bailey, and she says I do it on the last page because it's just easy to find, and I just did. Yes, Nicole, great question. This is the start of our July mind map, and we are on week 1. Last week was just kind of this mid-year bonus prompt check-in for your mind map time. But this is week 1. So I set mine up just like that. I just did a big X, wrote independence across there, and each one of those slots will be addressed from week to week. So, cool. All right. So let's look at that again, inviting you to find that page. And we're going to explore all these different aspects of independence in our life. And hopefully we can, like the slide says, embrace your path, what's unique in your life. This is going to be a response that's very personal to you. Find, where that solitude is in your life, your own thoughts. Think about your self-reliance. And there's our question for week 1, and it's a little bit little. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide where I've put it here on the left. So today you're invited to reflect on an area of your life where you felt pressured to conform to someone else's expectations or societal norms. How did you navigate that pressure, and in what ways did you assert your own desires or beliefs? If you haven't yet, what's one small step that you can take this week that will help you align your actions more closely with your authentic self, even if it feels uncomfortable? And so, as I started digging into this, I thought, there's a lot of ways that we feel pressure to conform, I mean, all kinds of things when you start thinking about it. What leads you to shop at certain stores? And so I kind of threw some ideas. So you can go as deep as you want. There's some serious stuff right now, right? Like you think about our political climate. I don't want to make this about politics, but I want to say it does force us to look at our core values and how our core values align with what's going on in society. But you can also keep it very light and maybe think about, if that's where your headspace needs to be. You can think about the fashion trends or pop culture. Where do you get your news? What is your family or that upbringing, that those early years, how did that influence um, some expectations or societal norms? Think about your over where you live, your community. What about your faith community? How does that influence you? Your friends, maybe your background, your cultural background, your ethnicity. What does that bring to the table for you as you think about conforming or non-conforming? Technology and social media. Whoa. I mean, there is a title called influencer, right? Like if you who would have believed that 20 years ago. So anyhow, no, I know Nicole. Nicole says I've been trying so hard to live in a vacuum because I'm still trying to protect my mental health. Right. Like what do you do? So I'm not gonna tell you which direction to go. If this is tricky, I'm going to suggest that maybe you keep it light with makeup or clothing or a restaurant, take what you need, protect yourself because this could get a little sticky. Steve Jobs had this great quote: "Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking." So I'm really going to encourage you to think about your core values. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition because they somehow already know what you truly want to become, and everything else is secondary. So, you might not get this one answered. You may do a screenshot, and this is pretty big, and this could be something that you work on every morning this week as you do a reflection of what you want your day to look like. I'm going to give you a good chunk of time to like set your page up and then also to start thinking about this. So if you want to grab a screenshot, this might be a great time to grab post-its and sticky notes and just kind of start jotting down the things that come up for you when you think about feeling that pressure to conform to societal expectations. Or maybe there's some healing journeys with some people in your past that you have realigned values to become the person you are, and you may dig into that. So let's start. Let's share from our heart, and most of all, let's protect ourselves. Okay, and I'll be back in to check with you in just a few moments. righty. This one was not for the faint of heart this week. And so, some great sharing in the chat. Thank you for supporting one another, for sharing the things that are in your heart, in your head. And again, it's okay to work on this when you're in a better headspace if this feels like a lot. We really encourage you to do that. So, I appreciate how you supported one another as you consider those societal expectations. I think a lot too about just aging and the expectations of what we're supposed to look like, right? And I love, further back in the chat, I'm just letting my hair go gray, right? A lot of folks found that so liberating during COVID when we weren't leaving the house as much. And there's all these expectations that I'm not supposed to have wrinkles, and I'm supposed to look young, and we're distorting faces, and it's just crazy. So there's just it comes from us, right? Or it comes toward us in all these different areas of our life. And so I think it's so important to know, to thine own self be true, right? And anyway, all righty. So thank you for dipping your toes into that really heavy, heavy topic and thinking about what it looks like to be independent and apart from those expectations. And if it's struggling, then we're gonna do it together, right? So like Nicole says, yeah, we're here. We're together. So anyhow, page 30. Let's take a look at last week and do a quick reflection over what our week brought us. Um, we do this rosebud thorn reflection each week. It can be an exercise in gratitude. It can also help us take a look at, life in a quick snapshot through the things that went well, that you're excited about, that you're celebrating, that you're proud of yourself for. Those are those roses, and then the thorns are the things that are to come. What are you anticipating? What good may be laying in the road ahead of you? And then the thorns, of course, are the things that did not go well, things that were stumbling blocks. Sometimes they're always there, and they just flare up more than others. A lot of times that's like a health journey. Thorns can just be there. And so we just ask you to take a moment to reflect on your week. Last week was my birthday, and so that was fun. My kids gave me the family, the big kids, their spouses. We all went to a concert together. That was my rose. My bud is just kind of I'm happy for a new day today. That's it. And I'll talk about my circle of control. So I'm happy that I have that knowledge to embrace a circle of control, and I'm looking forward to that as my bud. And then of course I shared with you just heavy hearts in Texas. And that's just gonna be the thorn. It's living there. So, and thanks, y'all. I'm happy to have celebrated another birthday. So let me put on just a little bit of music while you look back. Feel free to share as you're comfortable in the chat, the things that you are celebrating, looking forward to, the stuff you want to leave behind. And then we'll get on with our setup. Thank you all for working on this section and sharing with one another. In the chat, we're celebrating our roses together and reminding each other that you do always have this community for those things that are a little bit tougher. So let's get going with our setup. I wanted to let we have like a half an hour, so I've got a ton of examples to share with you. So we'll go through those examples. You can set up as I'm talking, share what you do in your journal as we go along this morning. And we always like to start with how do we want to feel this week? And this is a great graphic from the Silk and Sonder Instagram page to maybe do a little check in with self. Think about how you want to feel, reflect on, something you've already accomplished and you're here. That's a thing. That's a good thing. Maybe something you're showing gratitude for. How can you practice self-care this week? And maybe land on an affirmation to guide you this week. So share in the chat, like, what are you wanting to feel this week? And I wrote this week, I want to embrace my circle of control. What can I do in my corner of the world? And it's so funny because you know how sometimes think the universe aligns. And I actually had someone in my feed showed up this morning, and this lady sits up in bed and she starts talking about all the things that are going on in the world. And for everything, she picks up a gallon of water and another gallon of water and another gallon of water. And she's just holding all this stuff that represents the things of the world that really she doesn't have control over. And she's like, you don't have to carry all that around. And it was like, okay, universe, thank you for that. So think about, how you want to feel. I see that buoyant, loving, and cheerful nacho goals. I love that. Um, Alice is looking for energy this week, and she added a scripture to embrace that. We are on page 32. I'm so sorry, Terry. I didn't mention that. Page 32. Sandra needs to feel lighter. You can care without carrying. That's so good, Marie. I'm going to write that one down. So while you're thinking about, what do you need this week? I need to just be able to embrace what I can control. Calm and healthy, mindful, great words here. I always love the 1% better. That's always a good one, Janine. Just a little bit, little smidge. Love that. Yeah. Okay. So now we're going to take that feeling into our goals and our to-dos and our habits and activities. And I will tell you, for my goals, I am actually um, my circle of control. That's going to be my guiding light this week because I'm just feeling so blue. So I have broken my three goals into self, friends and family, and community at large. And then for myself, I'm going to cook, clean, and read. Those are things that just will help me recenter. And then for my friends and family, I'm going to be making a meal for an older couple who she had knee surgery. And I'm going to make some meals to put in the freezer for my mom. And I'm going to go hang out with my grandkids that time. And then community, I actually made a blood donation appointment that I'm going to go to right after this because that's something that I can give back. And I'm going to take some donations to our community plant stand just to bless someone else, pay things forward. So I needed to do that. That's how I'm going to make that circle of control work in my life this week. I've got lots of examples of like the whole page for you to see how folks are setting their goals, making their to-dos tie into those, and then looking at those habits and activities. So lots of folks like to do different categories of goals. And so There's some suggestions for that. This page, you see that the to-do list has been made into a bingo board just to like gamify it, make it a little more fun. The three goals, they're going to delete something, delight in something, and then the frog, that thing you don't want to do. What is that one thing? Gonna knock that off that list. Notice in their habits and activity tracker, they are choosing to take the weekend off, give themselves that space. And then they're also setting goals for those habits and activities and making it kind of fun with that gamification of doing something 5 times, something 4 times, 3 times, kind of doing that countdown. So that's a beautiful way to set this page up. The example on the left, the goals are the to-do list is directly informed by the three major goals. And then, they're circling those days. They want all of these things to happen every day, but they're only tracking 4 things. They didn't feel the need to fill out every space. So that permission to do that, take what you need. Happy birthday, Nicole. The one over there on the right, they have 4 goals because that's what their week is calling for. So you do you is basically that reminder. And then the habits and activities, everything they want to do 6 times, and then thing at the bottom, that crafting or hobbies 4 times. So taking what they need. And then their to-do list is a to-do list. We've got vacation mode happening, not tracking those vacation days. Give yourself permission to take days off. The goals that they have are reflecting that focus of the week. They want to enjoy and relax. And the one over on the right, you can see busy on Tuesday. They're gonna go, they're gonna go to Disney. And so they're not tracking a number of goals, just coloring it in with colors. And but they're taking Tuesday off. And of course, oh, I said stickers. Look, they've used both of these examples have some fun stickers just to brighten up that page. We've got there are no goals set for the one on the left. Just gonna, just track for the week. And the to-do list over on the right, you see, has been divided up into categories. So here's what I want to do, here's what I need to do in relationship to those 3 goals for work, personal time, and habits. Here are a couple more examples. I always love the weekly major goals when there's like some accountability for every day to do a check-in like the one on the left did. And again, not the one on the left is not going to set a certain number of goals. They're only tracking, not going to worry about the total. The to-do list is don't do this, but do this instead. We love that verbiage, kind of that replacement idea. And then the habits and activities for that person on the right, it's a goal range, right? 6 to 7 times, 4 to 6 times. So, kind of giving themselves permission to, kind of have a lower number, and then it's even greater if it's more. So those are just some ways you could see 3 categories: mind, body, soul, how they set those goals up there on the right. I love a weekly challenge. Sometimes when I'm stuck and I don't really know what to do, embracing a challenge in on this page is a really great way to inform the whole rest of the week. So here's some ideas for that. Maybe it's a workout week. Maybe it's no coffee out. You do all your coffee at home, or it's a no alcohol week. I actually observe, I always do, my family thinks I'm nuts. I do dry July, and I will indulge through July 4th, and then I break it August 12th because my August 13th is my anniversary. So I kind of give my little body a break for dry July. But maybe it's just a eat healthy food week. So the setting a personal challenge can really help you set goals, set to-dos, and help you be very proud of yourself. And then there's a great declutter challenge that I've done before, And yes, the digital declutter, the photos, the emails, the accounts you're following, the subscriptions to unsubscribe to. And so I love how that one is broken down. And like day 7, the passwords, we are supposed to change our passwords every now and then. So that could be a great thing. And I'll go back through these slides while you're setting this up. Here's some more ideas to drop into that bottom section of your habits and activities. Here are some feel good habit and activities that you might want to drop in there. My habits and activities are going to look real different this week because I just need to take care of my mental health. And so it's going to be focused on doing things like this, breathing, putting on a great playlist, putting down my phone. Oh, yay. Radhika is gonna work on the daily declutter. Always, always in the works. And then there's some more habits and activity inspiration. So let me put on a little bit of music while we tackle this page, and then we'll come back and take a look at the next page. I'll be scrolling back through these. So grab a screenshot if something spoke to you, and then share, what you're doing. Like Radhika just shared what she's doing with her decluttering on that repurposed page. All right, you may still be working on setting up this space, these spaces on this page, but we're going to go ahead and move over to the next page so that we can be sure that we get all the content in before our time ends. I believe I am going to do the digital declutter in my habit and activity, and then I'll just write in those little circles like photos, email, unsubscribe, those kinds of, I'm going to write in those little dots and do that each day. And that way I'm like on my phone, but I'm not scrolling. And so that kind of came to me just hanging out with y'all. So thank you for that. So now let's look at this next page on page 33. And we know this tends to be the page that these spaces get repurposed a little bit more than the one on the first page. But everything I'm showing you, even though they're like maybe the meal plan section the things in the meal plan section, that can even go, you can move these into like your shopping list, or you could put this in your mind body health plan, or the examples I show in mind body health can go into your meal plan. Again, this one is about really using this page to serve your needs. I know lots of folks love the meal plan space for repurposing because the spaces are really large, and then they'll put like their main meal of the day in one of the other spots. So you're invited to do what you need. Here's some great examples of setting this page up with the idea of the nutrition intake in mind. You can plan it out, you can track what you eat. When I do use this for food, it's usually for leftovers. So my husband and I don't eat very old leftovers. But here's some repurposing, and the 7 types of rest for those of you who are feeling little down this week. This would be a really great direction to take a section of this page and maybe think about this resting each day in a different way, or maybe embrace one or two of these kinds of rest and then put in activities to support that. So perhaps you need mental rest and emotional rest. And so then those will drive some of the decisions you make for yourself. We remember that rest is an activity, right? There's nothing, we need to take those pauses. So that's a great example of it being put into the meal plan, but you could put this anywhere in your journal. You could even do it on the weekly spread and do reflections on the different types of rest and how you're going to embrace those for yourself to take good care of yourself. Again, lots of repurposing ideas for these spaces. I'll just kind of scroll through. I love the idea of one good thing. I'm probably going to do something like that little reflection. I've already filled out my my gratitude log. I may just do that one good thing. Doodles, your to-do list. Maybe it's time to look up the National Day of and celebrate, the small things that are happening that day. You could put appointments there. Again, I know you guys can read, but here's some great examples. The meal plan for the soul. We love that. You've seen many of these ideas before. Just reminding you that it's okay to repurpose and do something maybe different. Try something different this week. Our mind body health plan, great little space. I always call this my selfish space. This is what the things I want to do for myself this week. And so there's some great examples of how folks set this up. Katie just said it's Strawberry Sunday day. Okay, come on, y'all. Let's go. Let's go treat ourselves. I love the idea of just a beautiful sticker or a scripture or a quote that will guide your week and remind you to be gentle with yourself. I also wanted to point out a year ago, I did this and I'm going to do it again. It was my eating the rainbow, and I had started when I first started this, I did 9 different fruits and vegetables through the week. I didn't track it by day. I just wrote down when I ate something unique. And when I started tracking after 6 weeks, I got up to 21 different fruits and vegetables through the week, and I'd kind of slacked. So I'm going to embrace that. But we also love the idea of the check-in with self. How do I feel and what do I need? And y'all, this check-in, those two little questions, how do I feel and what do I need, can be asked upon waking. It can be a midday check-in. It can be a good night check-in. So consider that if you are needing a little extra self-care this week. And then, of course, we have the shopping list. And again, tons of ways to repurpose that. Oh, Katie just sent me a message. It's also National Macaroni Day. I need to tell my grandkids that. They'll love that. But lots of different ways, examples. I tend to put some kind of a bingo here. Lately, it's been a bingo for my garden chores, my outdoor chores, but I have also added in some sweet things for me, like have a beverage outside, stand in the grass barefooted, but everything around outdoors and gardening. Some more wonderful examples of that. This is a great space to do a little mini tracker. You can see there's a tracker on the bottom left and one on the bottom right. The one on the bottom right is one of my old good night routines. Y'all know I struggle with rhythms and routines, so they show up quite often on my pages. And then finally, we want to reflect on what are we loving today? And it could just be that we woke up. Let me put on some music. I'll go back through these slides, share in the chat, and then I've got some great announcements to share with you at the end. So if you can hang around, we'd love for you to finish up with us. All right, my friends. So this is always, always the fastest hour. Um, I'm so glad that you came today. I'm going to scroll through these last few slides. I was actually working on. I put in my habit and activity tracker. I put 7 types of rest, and I was writing all the different kinds that I'm going to just take a look at each day in those little circles. And so I forgot to push the slides forward. I want to thank you for coming this morning. So this is huge. Scan that QR code, and this will allow you to try out the coaching, get yourself your lifestylist risk free for 14 days, including this means you're going to get all that intake done, all those things that are going to look at your Myers-Briggs and your Enneagram and your saboteurs. So this is huge. Again, grab that code. I know lots of you have taken advantage of giving it a try, and you're seeing where that magic is. I'm going to be talking to my lifestyle list a lot this week as I'm processing and trying to figure out, how to live with sadness as well as hope. And so, love that. And then we have this new feature that you can do text to speech journaling prompts. That's huge. That is so huge. So be sure that you're checking that new feature out. It's always going through iterations, to just be the best it can be and meet our needs. So, make sure that you've checked that out if you're already on the coaching prompt. And then Meha is doing a mid-year check-in. And so it'll be a week from tomorrow, to kind of make sure, that your July has, you're stopping, you're being reflective. Katie's dropping all of these links in the chat so you can capture them and go, get some more information on that. But this is a free check-in. And she will also share during that, what your coach can do as you're looking forward to that. Then we have the exclusive this month, which is in a couple of weeks on Thursday, July 24th. And it's going to be a very an introspective, a really great, powerful exclusive with our founder Meha and then Megan Malone from Truity. So we want to encourage you, if you're maybe this is something you can do to treat yourself if you're in a funk right now, that mid-year kind of funk. So Katie's dropping in a bunch of links to these things. But anyways, Sonder family, thanks for showing up this morning. It meant a lot to me. I was glad to be with you. Have a good week, and we will see you soon.